formations are now adjusting their lines. Vehicles and armaments are lining up. They will soon march to the Tiananmen rostrum.
The People's Liberation Army is known as the PLA. In 1927, its frontrunners were founded by the Communist Party in China. It was originally had the Chinese workers and peasants get armed. This year marks the 98th anniversary of the founding of the PLA.
During the 14-year-long War of Resistance, under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the 8th Red Army and the new 4th Army, together with the Chinese people, defeated the Japanese forces and enveloped the invaders. They asserted their role in the battlefields and achieved victory in the War for National Liberation.
Since the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the PLA has also undertaken the tasks of national defense. Centuries are transforming itself into a more revolutionary and modernized
Alongside the latest generation of conventional weapons, the parade will feature unmanned intelligence systems, underwater combat units, cyber and electronic forces, and hypersonic weapons, highlighting the PLA's growing capacity to harness emerging technologies, adapt to the evolving character of warfare, and prevail in future conflicts.
Just as China's weaponry has seen remarkable evolution over the years, the Chinese military has also continuously strengthened itself by reinforcing the primacy of political guidance and advancing comprehensive reforms.
China pursues a national defense policy that is defensive in nature. China will never seek hegemony, expansion, or spheres of influence.
Today, the PLA protects China and its people while making significant contributions to safeguarding world peace. It is the largest contributing country for peacekeepers among the permanent members of the UN Security Council.
China has formulated a three-step development strategy for modernizing national defense and the armed forces to achieve the centenary goals of strengthening the PLA by 2027, realize the modernization of national defense and the armed forces by 2035, and fully build the military into a world-class one by 2050.
Centenary objectives state that by 2027, China will accelerate the integrated development of mechanization, informationization, and intelligentization, accelerate the modernization of military theory, organizational forms, personnel, weaponry, and prioritize quality and efficiency to enhance operational efficiency of military systems, and optimize the utilization of defense resources and promote the synchronized growth of defense and economic strengths.
the parade marched past airborne flag-guarding echelons, foot formations, battle flag formations, armament columns, aerial echelons will pass through or fly past Tiananmen Square in order. The parade is organized under the wartime clearance system. It will involve thousands of troops, over 100 of their battle and hundreds of final armaments.
Commence the march past.
Flag guide the direction. Flag lead the strike. The march past begins with airborne flag guard echelon.
Accompanied by the impassioned military music, the flag of the CPC, the national flag of the People's Republic of China, the flag of the People's Liberation Army are fluttering high in the air. 26 helicopters form huge numerical shapes of 8 and 0. 3 helicopters bearing the banners that read, "Justice will prevail, peace will prevail, the people will prevail." These messages are great truths inspired by history, a solemn proclamation of the right voice, and how an era of peace and development.
Interpretation always cherishes peace, takes side with historical correctness, fairness, and justice. Always be at the heart of the law, national sovereignty, security, development, and safety, as well as the world peace.
A total of 45 formations and echelons participate in the way. Most of the weapons and equipment are shown to the public for the first time. It not only embodies the continuation of the heroic armed forces during the world resistance, but also demonstrates the new look of the people's military in the new era with enhanced political awareness and its new structure and fierce competition through progress and modernization and new achievements, enhancing combat readiness.
First to be inspected are 13 flood formations. After a comprehensive and deepened reform, the People's Military has formed a new system of services and arms. 4 service formations, 4 armed formations, and the formation of the Armed Police Force will be holding their respective flags to make a rude debut during the parade. Marching toward us. The People's Armed Forces, under the leadership of the CPC, are always the defenders of country, socialism, and people's interests.
Marching towards us as the earliest armed forces established and led by the party. The PLA Army fought the enemies vigorously, achieving mortally means through countless battles. In the new era, the army is transforming itself fast to operate in multiple domains. Breaking the waves and navigating to the deep blue, the PLA Navy has comprehensively strengthened its maritime deterrent and combat capabilities to safeguard peace and stability at the sea, moving fast to become a world-class naval force. Inspection is the blanket force formation. As a core force of China's strategic deterrence, the PLA Rocket Force serves as the strategic support of China's status as a big power and important cornerstone to safeguard national security. Its drive to become a modern armed force with both nuclear and conventional capabilities and able to deter wars in all battle spaces. Force formation is making their debut in the parade. As a new domain, new foreign force advocating peaceful utilization of space, PLA Aerospace Force safeguards the lasting peace and prosperity of space, offers strategic support to bringing great power in aerospace.
Also making its debut is the cyberspace formation. China advocates building a peaceful, secure, open, cooperative, and orderly cyberspace. Through building a cyber great wall, China decisively safeguards its network security and sovereignty. Digital battlefield.
The Information Support Force formation is also making its debut at the Tiananmen Square. As a brand new strategic arm, the PLA Information Support Force is capable of capturing information heights, strives for innovation and development, provides support to an informationized and intelligent force in multiple domains.
Now receiving inspection is the Joint Logistics Support Force Commission. Self-reliance will bring the war of assistance all the way to becoming part of the synchronized operational systems and providing effective and precise assistance in the new era. The PLA Joint Logistics Support System has made new strides.
Now under inspection is the Armed Police Force formation. From metropolises to remote coastal areas, the People's Armed Force Police Force either perform regular duties and in emergencies or engaging in rescue operations is dedicated to safeguarding national security and social stability and ensuring people's well-being. Distinguished by its versatility and effectiveness in maintaining stability, the Armed Police Force is always a loyal guard of the party.
Next comes the Reserve Force formation. New types of reserve forces have been fully integrated into the leadership and command systems of the military. They're ever prepared to fight and carry out the missions of the people's military in coordination with the active duty forces in the new era.
The Army and the people are the foundation of victory. Now marching forward is the militia formation. The militia women are from the major wartime counter-Japanese base areas across China. During the war of resistance, China's people, regardless of their gender or ages, acted as one in safeguarding their homes. Red genes have passed on from one generation to another. In the new era, the militia forces provide backup services all the time.
China has been contributing to maintaining world peace. The peacekeeping force formation is marching towards us. China is the largest troop contributing country for peacekeeping among the permanent members of the UN Security Council. Having participated in UN peacekeeping operations for 35 years, the Chinese peacekeeping forces have confronted daunting challenges and fulfilled their missions. The forces have guarded world peace without hesitating to sacrifice their lives, demonstrated through their action how China assumes its responsibility as a major power, making great contributions to building a community with a shared future for humanity.
This majestic bearing, the 7 combat groups of the Armament formations, led by the Band formation, are ready to be revealed. Once utilizing incendiary weapons during the War of Resistance, the PLA has accelerated to develop new weapons, including massively deployed killer heavyweight weapons, thus being better equipped to meet enemies and win the war.
Banner information showcases 8 honorary banners of the hero unit troops, bearing glory from the past. The banners symbolize heroism and victory, and will always propel the People's Army to forge ahead.
Four formations of the Land Combat Group are ready to be revealed. Marching towards us is the Ground Assault Formation, grouped in an arrow-shaped array. The Type 91-99 tank features strong striking abilities, powered with information. The Type 110 105 vehicle are highly intelligent and capable of coordinated combat. New generation armored units, PLA Army ground assault systems demonstrate its capability, capturing strongholds, ability, and fortifications.
Next is the amphibious assault vehicle formation, made up of amphibious wheeled armored assault vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles, and self-propelled howitzers. Capable of supporting shoreline assault with strong mobility and flexibility, they are key armaments that bring war to take the lead in landing operations in a key area seizure.
Marching towards us is the opposing airborne assault formation. Diverse airborne armaments formation are used in long-distance air
subjugation and precision strike. The two types of 191 box-shaped rocket artilleries are capable of making strike and providing support, expanding the Army's capability in terrestrial battle.
Next, we review our skill formation for the maritime combat group. First comes the carrier-based air defense weapon formation. We review our four types of armaments that compose a three-dimensional system for air defense covering all ranges. The carrier-based missile weapons are strongly capable of precision disruption and consistent strike, combining comprehensive maritime attack and defense.
The anti-ship missile formation consists of UG-15 missile, UG-19, UG-17, and UG-20 hypersonic missiles. Missiles can be deployed on multiple platforms, such as carrier-based aircraft, surface missiles, and submarines, featuring long-range strike, fast speed, and strong destruction. They're sharp weapons for striking enemies at the sea.
Now on parade is the underwater weapon formation. Light and heavy torpedoes, as well as torpedoes propelled by rockets, are able to strike vessels and strike undersea targets. Their special purpose naval mines can autonomously identify and attack targets. Our key forces guarding strongholds and making waves in naval warfare.
Three formations of the air defense and anti-missile operations group will be inspected. Here comes the early warning detection formation. The four types of weapons that are being inspected are all new generations of domestically made highly mobile radar. With coordination, they can detect stealth aircraft and ballistic missiles far and near. They provide early warning for the country's airspace and aerial security.
Under review now is the anti-aircraft combat formation. It's a heroic unit which has accomplished large wartime feats. Six types of ground-to-air missiles, including UG-20, UG-19, and UG-29, have now been made public by Jinping. They can carry out multi-range and multi-layered anti-ballistic defense, capable of fighting against all range threats.
intelligence formation set to defend the low-altitude domain. It includes anti-drones missile and artillery systems, high-energy laser weapons, and high-powered microwave weapons. The trio will work together to disable and destroy enemy drones.
Driving towards us is cyberspace combat formation. The four types of equipment being inspected can command and control detected sins, carry out cyber and electronic countermeasures, and range weapons. It is reinforced that consolidates cyber defense and powers joint force operations.
Electronic countermeasure formation. 5 types of key equipment are displayed. They can detect and monitor all frequencies and subdue the enemy forces precisely. Capable of alien and space predators and disconnecting the enemy networks. They are a crucial force in securing victory on crewed multi-domain battlefields. Inspected is the Unmanned combat unit consisting of 3 formations. First, we have the Unmanned land combat formation. These unmanned vehicles carry out various tasks such as reconnaissance, assaults, mine and bomb defusing and removal, and SWAT assistance. They can be operated remotely and are able to move independently, work flexible, cruise, and make intelligent moves. With that, the Army can make coordinated operations between land and combat forces.
Now approaching is the Unmanned maritime combat formation. Being reviewed now are new types of unmanned underwater vehicles and unmanned surface vehicles, as well as underwater mine deployment systems, which are capable of hit deployment from within, including target identification and group-based attacks. They are extraordinary weapons in maritime combat.
Next is the Unmanned aerial combat formation. The new models of weaponry include reconnaissance and strike drones, unmanned wing planes, unmanned air domination planes, and unmanned aircraft carrying aboard helicopters. Covered a wide range of space, they can attack in a way that is difficult to be detected and can automatically report and hit one another, creating a new model of future-oriented
of the logistics and equipment support group are to be reviewed. The logistics support formation consists of ambulances, field hospital installations, fuel transport, fuel depots, fuel hot wheel providing system. They have greatly enhanced modern logistics for the troops.
Support formation are aligned to repair vehicles, wheeled emergency rescue and repair vehicles, disassemble and assemble repair vehicles, and electromechanical maintenance vehicles, rugged armored hospital, weapons, and equipment. Is the Strategic Strike Group, consisting of 4 formations. First, we have the Cruise Missile Formation. Naval, air, and rocket forces being organized into a joint group.